role of code enforcement within modern-day cities is to maintain and enhance the quality of life and property values by helping to ensure safe, healthy living and working conditions for residents and businesses, as well as eliminating blight throughout the community.
Many communities seem to deal with the battle of blight, and unfortunately, West Carrollton is no exception. Can you give us some examples of blight?
Some examples of these are properties that pose a direct threat to the public health and safety because of hazardous conditions, such as not having active utilities, or have unsafe, unsanitary conditions, hazards that can endanger lives or property by fire or other issues. The battle of blight also includes things that might lead to the transmission of disease, juvenile delinquency, or crime, vehicles improperly parked or that are inoperable being stored outside in view of the public, tall grass, and an accumulation of litter.
Every community has to deal with unkept properties, vacant buildings, too tall grass, misplaced trash, and inoperable vehicles. Studies show that communities that have blight and deteriorated properties will eventually see an increase in crime and drug activity and a significant decrease in property values, and we certainly want to avoid that. Code enforcement provides the first line of action in making sure that these issues are managed in a responsible and effective manner. Making sure people feel safe is one of the most important ways code enforcement impacts and helps communities. Unfortunately, we often come across circumstances of elder and child abuse or self-neglect and sometimes even hoarding conditions. When these situations occur, we work with the city's police and fire departments and other area organizations to help residents establish and maintain a better environment to live in. And our main goal is to keep people safe and able to live in their homes in a neighborhood that exceeds their expectations.
One example of this was working with a local resident, Cynthia Ritchie. Last winter, in the heart of the cold spell, the city was able to help Miss Ritchie, a longtime West Carrollton resident, with a broken furnace. This is an example of how code enforcement is brought into a situation by our fire department. The incident started with a call to her house about a burning smell, which turned out to be a broken furnace. Our code enforcement team were able to help Miss Ritchie by arranging for the city, along with a local church and heating supply company, to purchase and install a new furnace in 2 days. Another example was a resident who had her water shut off by the city for non-payment. We found this unusual because we've never had an issue at this residence before. Knowing the resident was elderly, we tried to contact her by phone and in person at her home. Her car was in the driveway, her TV was on inside, but when we knocked, no one answered. We were able to locate a nearby relative who then tried to contact his aunt through the front door. We heard a faint call for help coming from within the house. West Carrollton police officers were able to get into the house where we found the resident lying on the floor. She was immediately taken to the hospital by West Carrollton medics. We later found out that she had fallen and been on the floor for over 4 days. The great part of the story is that the city's code enforcement, water, police, and fire departments were able to find her and help her. She recovered and eventually returned home.
Now let's talk about how the code enforcement process works. What constitutes a code violation?
Code enforcement works to keep the city's buildings, homes, and property from becoming eyesores through enforcement of the property maintenance code, zoning, sign, and public works codes. We're going to highlight them today, but all the details can be found on our website.
These codes are actually laws that citizens must follow to help our city be the best it can be. Following these helps us all live and work in a safe community.
The Property Maintenance Code applies to all existing residential and non-residential structures and premises. The code details the minimum requirements and standards for premises, structures, equipment, and facilities for light, ventilation, heating, sanitation, and safety from fire and other hazards. It also states that these requirements are the responsibility of owners, operators, and occupants to maintain, and gives the city the ability to enforce that these requirements are being met.
The top 5 most common violations are grass and weeds that are very high. Technically, anything over 8 inches tall is considered a violation. The reason why this is a violation is that lawns this tall produce mice, mosquitoes, and vermin. This is why the city has this code in place, is to eliminate this nuisance. Trash or debris in locations other than garbage cans, like a yard or driveway. Inoperable vehicles is another common violation. Another is not storing items outside the home or shed. Examples of this include storing non-working washers and dryers on the driveway, or keeping a weight set on the front porch. Parking on unpaved areas of the residence. Simply put, vehicles are not to be parked in any type of yard. About half of the violations that end up being documented come from concerned citizens contacting us about an issue they've seen in the city. The other half come from a mix of calls that either the police or fire departments receive. Other calls received come from outside agencies, such as the Humane Society or Child Protective Services.
When a violation is found, what are the next steps?
We document the violation by visually observing and then write a report and take a few photos. In most cases, we're able to address the situation informally. We request the violation be taken care of within a reasonable time frame. If the violation has been fixed, the case is closed, and we consider that a voluntary compliance. However, if it is not fixed in the time frame, we may have to issue a formal notice. A formal notice includes the type of violation, what is required to become compliant, and what the next step will be if the violation is not corrected. It also provides information on the appeal process. Once the homeowner receives the formal notice, they have 10 days to appeal if they wish.
What does the appeal process look like?
The appeal process would require submitting an application to the city. The homeowner would then be notified about when the appeal will be heard by the Board of Zoning Appeals, who will then render a decision. We would like for our citizens to know that we are here to ensure our community is safe, clean, and blight-free.
Code enforcement plays an important role in helping maintain the quality of life that our citizens have come to expect by enforcing property standards in an equal and fair manner. We are here to help our residents, and we are always open to answering your questions.
If you have questions or concerns regarding a property, please let us know. We can be reached by calling 937-859-5783, or you can email us at plan@westcarrollton.org.